If you really want to be good, it's all about capacity. What service do we provide to our customers? We provide liquidity, access to capacity, which is liquidity for our brokers, which they can buy and procure at a better rate. That's why brokerages exist. That's why we will always exist. We can do it at a scale much faster, much bigger, without the G&A costs that a shipper would provide. You can scale, you can grow. There's never a better time to be a broker than right now.
Did you ask David what his spirit animal was?
Yeah.
No? Maybe we should start off, David, what is your spirit animal?
Oh my God, I don't know.
By the way, I'll give a little bit more context. Like when I was starting Whitestone Talent, I was reading Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss. And Tim Ferriss said when he interviews people and like podcast guests, etc. Shout out Tim. He's like one of the first podcasters, right? I know you love Tim, right? And he, in that book, he wrote that one of the best icebreaker questions he ever asks or whatever asks is, what's your spirit animal? And so I've been asking that to everybody I've hired at Whitestone. And I get lions, I get boar, I get wolves, falcon over here, fire eagle, big bear. And
it's like we have like, I thought of this idea a couple of weeks ago when I saw Tom, like we should like create like a book.
Yeah.
Where like we're all like animated, like you know, you see Winnie the Pooh, you got the bear, you got the rabbit, and it's like we have our own little community, you know. And I think even in logistics. So David, since we're interviewing you now, I think it'd be cool to see what do you think your spirit animal is?
Peregrine falcon.
A peregrine falcon.
Speed. It's all about moving fast.
Okay,
The
I love
faster
that.
the better.
Yeah,
It's one motion, and that's the way I go.
Oh well, okay, speed. So.
Speed, height, vision, macro, is able to see like a little mouse moving, swoop on in, get that mouse.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I love it.
Well, I think real quick, since this is actually a great introduction to this podcast, David Radom, you're the new CEO of Everest Simple. Everest Simple merged in May of this year, and you came on as a CEO in September.
Correct.
So it's been a few months.
Yes.
And I think it would be just interesting for our audience to like first find out, why did these two companies merge, these two brokerages, and why did you come and be the new CEO?
Sure. It's all about service mode expansion. So Everest is a traditional dry van drayage brokerage, and Simple is a well-established 15-year plus company that specializes in refrigerated freight. Deep-rooted relationships, and merging the two together is how you grow and how you scale. And when you've got good customers and you've got good service mode expansion, and that is ultimately what we're trying to do here, is diversify our portfolio. So, you know, when you become a one-stop shop, when you start moving drayage, LTL, intermodal, refrigerated, right, it's very sticky for the customers. And that was the vision that Cambridge Capital, which is the reason why I'm here, that's the vision that they had, is let's go find these strategic acquisitions that can help our portfolio, not just from a customer acquisition perspective, but also on an expansion side of, you know, the services that we provide. And the reason why I'm here is you don't say no to Cambridge Capital.
You don't say no.
No,
to
I mean,
Cambridge
look,
Capital.
So Ben Gordon, Matt Smalley, probably the two most strategic, well-known, well-established private equity investors in our space. You know, there's Jordan Group, there's Warburg Pincus, and there's Cambridge Capital. Cambridge Capital is also affiliated with Ben Gordon's Strategic Advisor Group, which, I don't know if you guys know this, but has the most robust pipeline of, you know, industry leaders that attend their conference every January in Palm Beach, right? It's kind of like a CEO conference. And
What's the acronym of that?
BGSA.
BGSA.
Yeah, BGSA. So I am. I'm going to it this January. It's my first one. I'm very excited.
Palm Beach sounds nice.
Especially in January.
Yeah,
Coming from Chicago.
That's Chicago,
Right.
Krakow, Poland, where
Right.
I'm coming to you live from right now. Maybe not live, but love that. Okay.
So, you know, when Ben and Matt called me, it was like, okay, I have made a career out of myself, you know, building a career out of myself of working and aligning myself with strategic, you know, investors and strategic builders and great minds. My philosophy is always, you want to align yourself with people that are smarter than you and better than you that you can learn from. So, you know, I started my career with the head of sales at American Backhaulers, who started the first basic, company that spun off of American Backhaulers and Gary Bazelon. Then I worked for Brad Jacobs, who's running the Chicago office at XPO. I worked for the Gallo family. I worked for Lior Ron, who introduced everybody to the world to Google Maps, in the first autonomous truck, which was Otto. And then Cambridge called. And so you don't say no to great leaders. And that's why I'm here.
Back when I was brokering freight full-time, my day didn't end when a load delivered. That's actually when the real mess began. Tracking down PODs, dealing with rate disputes, and getting hit with random calls from factoring companies. Total time suck. I wish I had something like ePay Manager back then. They built a platform that keeps brokers, carriers, and factors all on the same page. It actually makes the back office feel organized. If you're still piecing together spreadsheets and emails, this will save you hours. If you're tired of wasting time post-load, go to epaymanager.com or text ePayFC to 80483. I do want to tell the audience too that you worked at Trek Freight.
I did.
Was that that wasn't your first job? Or was
it was my first brokerage job. Yes.
First brokerage job.
Yeah.
Okay. My first brokerage job was also Trek Freight.
Yeah.
And I found this out last week when I went on your LinkedIn profile and I scrolled down and I'm like, Trek Freight. And I'm like, get out of here. What are the odds that your first job in logistics was at Trek Freight? Because Trek Freight is relatively unknown. Not a lot of people know them. They're not a brand name. And they were acquired by Becker Logistics in 2022.
Yeah.
But okay, so you started off at Trek.
Yeah.
I started off at Trek, but we didn't work together. I just remember seeing your name in the TMS pop up.
Yeah.
And now
the database.
Yes, database.
Yes.
And then I went on to work at Everest right after Trek.
Yeah.
And now you're the CEO of Everest Simple.
So we're aligned in some ways.
Well,
right?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's at the end of the day, this was kind of this interview is really meaningful to me in many ways, because not only are we interviewing you in Poland, because you have an office here in Poland, but we're also based out of Poland, and there's so many similarities. It's kind of in a way, I can't even believe it's true. So you started at Trek, and then you went on to go to XPO with Brad Jacobs, and that was when XPO was just beginning.
We were brand new. I think we were, Brad bought Express One. I think it was a $185 million company at the time. Express One was public. It was a $2 share company based out of Buchanan, Michigan. Chicago office had been open for a few months. The branch president was let go. I was brought in. And, my first, this is a good story, but my first, month and a half there, we had, there was 125 people. We had 75 sales reps. Our ratios were inverted. We had 2x the number of sales reps we had carrier rep. I'm on this MBR with Brad, our monthly business review. He's like, all right, David, you've been here long enough. What are your thoughts? And I'm like, well, I've got 30 people here that could do the job with the 60 that we have. He's like, great, give me 34 heads by Monday. And we end up doing a riff. And the point was if you carry extra weight into your organization, it weighs down your top performers, right?
Yeah.
And so what happened was we got rid of, and it's business, we got rid of some underperformers and people that were we hired everybody from Groupon when I got there. So we were literally the old Groupon office, 303 West Wacker or East Wacker. And so we ended up doing a riff, and we ended up doing another riff. And we finally right-sized our balance between, our headcount and all of our G&A costs and everything. And we just took off. It was like a rocket ship. And what people don't realize about XPO is they just assume, oh, you just acquired your way to a $15 billion run rate. Well, each office, which is now RXO, and Drew's doing a terrific job there, but each office runs their own P&L. So think of it almost like a franchise model, and how well that office is doing. You can scale up and down based on how your EBITDA is and how well, you're doing from a economic and growth perspective. And so we did really well. We built our branch into one of the two megas, which was Charlotte and Chicago, and we competed with each other and had a great time. And it was great years of my life. I mean, I like to say this because I want to go back to Trek for a second.
Sure.
Because I owe everything to Gary and John.
Same.
And Trek was a terrific brokerage. And I keep telling my team here now, because it's really all about the SOPs. It's all about the processes. And our SOPs, because We didn't call it a TMS. There was no name for it. Everybody now, like, it's my Alexa, or it's, all these fancy names that, humanized names for their bots and stuff, their TMS. We just called it the database. That's what it was. And it was Salesforce and our TMS all into one. And the great thing about it was all of your SOPs and all of your processes, where you're putting your weight, you're putting your feed, your how many skids were on each particular load. You can match it up really well. You could, look at a radius search when you're searching for trucks. Okay, all of that was done inside of our TMS, and it's how you built loads were like almost a reflection of whether you're doing your job correctly or not. And it was transferable into, you can get margin expansion as a result of it, because, there's, this load was built properly. It's showing there's 8 skids here. You can consolidate it with this one, and we're going to pick this up in New Jersey, and we'll pick up this one in Philly, and we'll take it back to Chicago. We got a full truckload, and, you're slinging freight, you're making money, and your customers are really happy because you're getting them a consolidated price versus a truckload price, and everybody's happy. But that was all done through the processes that Gary and John kind of hammered home. Our first few months were, basically just building loads. That's all it was. It was going to the fax machine, taking the order off, literally a fax machine, filing the weight confirmation, taking the orders, filing the orders. But it built, rote, a repetition. And if you do things over and over and over again the same way, and it's your process, it becomes your SOPs, then what happens is everybody is doing the same thing versus being idiosyncratic in the way that you operate your business. And so it's much easier to scale, and it's much easier to have visibility on your freight, on your load board or your trucks or your customers, than just, I walk into some offices, and the way that, Joey over here procures freight is different than the way that Tommy over here procures freight. It's different than the way Paul does. But at Trek, everything was uniform.
Yeah.
Everything was, exactly what I'm talking about, like, right? And you get screaming, like, why didn't you build this load correctly? Is it 44,000 pounds? Is it 44,800 pounds? Is it 37 pounds? I need to know if it's 37,000 pounds because I can put an extra skid on there. It was brokered beautifully, but it was process driven. Yeah.
So as someone who did not work at Trek, the database, did that force you in a way to go through the process to actually build a load? Like, you were like,
yes,
you had no other
100%.
option, right?
None.
Like, it gets instilled into you just through that.
Correct. So, like, I remember this. I have full visibility and memorization of their database, not TMS. Right? We called it database because there's no such thing as that.
But TMS. It was really a TMS.
Right, of course, it was TMS. But on the top, there was the customer side, right? On the right, it was like the bill to side. Underneath, it could be the same or it could be different. Underneath was the address, and then you had the pickup location, you had the delivery location, and then underneath that you had, your weight, your skid count, your feed, your van, your reefer checkbox. And it wasn't cloud-based.
It wasn't cloud-based.
No, it was not cloud-based. So it was like you log into your system. You log into your computer, and it's platform driven versus cloud, because there was no such thing as cloud. We started, there were pre-cell phones.
Mm-hmm. So you couldn't take it home with you? Is that what it meant?
So if you had we had desktops, we didn't have laptops. You could take it home with you. If you were set up, certain people had the ability to work.
You have to log in the same way, like for Tanager. You just log in through like what is it called? When you log into Tanager, how do you log into Tanager?
McLeod?
No, but it's like you log in through like their system. Like, you have to log in. It's not like you just go to the TMS.
It's a desktop login.
It's like an app like you have to log into, and
This was like 2004, 2005, 2006. Like, it's just, you log into your computer, you turn on your Dell, right? Because everything was PC, and login comes on, and you type in your name, your password, click in, you're into the TMS, and you're looking at your load board, and it was just moving left to right. And the other thing that was great about it was you knew where your loads were at all times. What I mean by that is, if this load has to pick up at 1600 and that load is not covered yet and it's 1300, or why isn't that, what's going on there? Or that load's booked and it's 1600 and it's still sitting in the ordered booked status like he should be dispatched, right? So it just intuitively walked you through the life cycle of a load better than any TMS that I've ever seen. I was at Uber, I was at XPO, like we had great systems that were, and you couldn't do what Trek did back then today because everything's web-based now. And everything looks like a G Sheet or Excel, and it drives me crazy. The interface, look, the Trek load board was ugly, right? It had blue and black,
but it was practical. You don't need some fancy buttons, like you just need it to work. And that's what I actually really enjoyed the Trek. I call it just TMS, but because it was built in house later. Yeah, but it was built in house. But you were just about to get into like the process driven.
Yes.
So today's episode is also brought to you by Genlogs. Genlogs is a nationwide sensor network that has collected nearly 2 billion real-time images on trucks. You might say it's crazy, your competitor says it's game changer. See why all the top brokerages now use Genlogs to acquire new customers, source better carriers, and conduct deeper compliance. Book a demo today, it's like slinging freight on God mode.
I learned, we didn't call them SOPs then, but they essentially, how you build loads, how you procure freight, how you communicate freight was all done intuitively through the TMS. You couldn't move something from the load board from left to right to completed status, from pending to completed without following a process, right? So those were innate, intuitive SOPs built into our TMS. And it taught you how to be a freight broker. And I always say, like, I got my PhD in freight at Trek.
Yeah.
I learned how to run a business, and I learned how to manage off of a P&L from Brad and from XPO. And then I learned how to scale and grow, asymmetrical growth at Uber. So like I've got all these great people that I've worked for, and I owe most of my, everything in my career to. And then similar to like where I'm at now, I get a phone call from Cambridge Capital, and who's arguably the most well-known private equity company in the space. You just don't say no, because I learned so much. And what I love about working with Cambridge, and I've worked with other VCs before, is I've got daily calls with them, daily emails. We do, bi-weeklies all the time. They are engaged. We are thought leaders, thought providers to each other, like bouncing ideas off each other. And you don't get that from a lot of other VCs or private equity companies. A lot of private equity just let you be. They want to see your quarterly results. They want to see your monthly results. But Cambridge is vested with us, and they are, they roll up their sleeves just like I do every single day, which is great. Yeah.
So like
they were just here, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, I'm serious. When I say like they roll up their sleeves, Matt Smalley sat right where you were sitting the other day when I first came on board. So I don't know, maybe 2-3 weeks. So I started September 1st, and they're like, what's the game plan, right? Give me a 30, 60, 90, how they do that. And I'm like, I need to get to Poland because that's my office. And Matt goes, let's go. And so we rolled up our sleeves and got on a flight and flew into Frankfurt and Krakow. And the next thing you know, we're both here working, 12, 15-hour days. And he flew in for I think his flight times were longer than he was actually here. So he was here for like 3 days, but really 2. And no, I mean, these guys are dedicated, and they want to see us grow and want to see us succeed. And, think of them like a band leader, like an orchestra conductor, and that's where we're at.
Yeah. I think it would also be interesting for our audience to kind of hear like a background about Everest, and I could kind of discuss that, because I was employee like number 7 at Everest, and this was back in 2017, January 2017. So I finished at Trek June 2016. I was there for a year. I literally thought I was going to leave logistics for good. I had some money saved up. I wanted to travel the world. So I traveled the world for 6 months, and I was like, afterwards, I'm going to go get my master's in psychology. I come home broke. I had like $34 in my name. And I was like, all right, first I should work a little bit, save some money, and then maybe I'll go do my master's. And so like I reached out to CS Recruiting, and CS Recruiting got me 4 interviews lined up in a week. And one of them was at Everest. I ended up accepting the offer at Everest. And I go in, and it's like 7 dudes in an office in Evanston. And I just loved like the grind culture. Like it was just like, it was nothing like I've ever seen before, because every interview I've had was, like a corporate more or less job where it's okay, like it's already scaled, it's big. And what I loved about it is like we walk in, it's like a men's locker room, but at the same time, it was literally just like everyone was grinding. It's like it's a small startup. Like I love that energy of a startup. And then like a few months later, they offered me to move to Ukraine and open up an office in Ukraine. And I was like, yeah, of course, send me to Ukraine. So like I was like, when I moved to Ukraine, there was 4 of us in the office. And by the time I had left in 2020, there was 100 of us.
So did you leave pre-COVID?
I left during COVID.
You left
it
during
was
COVID.
It was October 2020 actually when I left. And then I think Cambridge Capital acquired Everest in August of 2021.
Yeah, sounds
So
right.
yeah, I wasn't there when Cambridge came, but it was just it's interesting now because now you're the CEO of the truly merged companies, Everest and Simple, which I think is just I don't know. It's cool to be here, and we were just
It's like
chatting.
coming home for you, right?
Yeah, it's like
I
coming
mean, how
home.
many people here knew you took
Yeah.
photos with
Yeah,
you?
like half
a
the
rock
people
star?
here, half the people here, like yeah.
People were so excited when I told them like you were coming. You know, we had multiple people taking photos with you. That I had one person who's in Portugal right now. He was adamant, you know, tell him I said hello. They got to tell him I said hello and send me photos to show you. So you're kind of like a legend now.
Well, it's honestly amazing to come back here and do this interview with you. What I do find really interesting though is like we're in Poland right now.
Yep.
And there's not many brokerages that outsource to Poland.
Yeah.
It's, you know, relatively a lesser known destination. Like we know obviously Mexico, Colombia, and then there's Serbia, Ukraine,
Yep.
before the war. And now it's like, okay, like there's still an office presence here in Poland, which I love because I'm based in Poland.
Yeah.
And it's cool that we get to do this sit down interview with you here in Poland. So that's all I wanted to say.
I will say this, and I've worked with many BPOs, you know, in my career, my 20+ year career in this business. The talent is really good here. The like level of commitment, the excitement, the enthusiasm, the wanting to do well and wanting to perform is palpable out there. And the tribal knowledge, you know, like so many, look, 2 freight capitals of the world, Chicago, Memphis, right? The United States, right? Chicago, Memphis. So many of Chicago, like carriers, dispatchers, all have Eastern European roots. And a lot of them have kind of returned home in some ways. And they brought that back. Like there's another company that does the same thing as we do that's also here. They're doing a terrific job right now. The talent is great. You know, if you talk to recruiters, everybody you talk to, you look at the talent in Poland, look at the talent in Ukraine, look at the talent in Serbia. Like it's really strong. And Poland for us, like, first of all, I love this city. Krakow is a world city. It is a world town. You're surrounded by amazing universities. It's young, it's vibrant, it's fresh. These kids graduate right out of college. We are working on an internship program here. In January, I'm coming back with one of the universities that has supply chain. We're going to set up that program. We're going to have a pipeline of talent that comes in here because they're really good. They're really efficient. And the quality of work that they're doing is on par, if not succeeds a lot of what you see in the United States right now. So.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, the people in Poland are so grateful. They're so grateful to be working with U.S. companies, and
I think there's something lined up there, Tom. So
yeah, I mean, I think
let's talk about pre-Coyote days.
Yeah.
So like calling a shipper, what was that like?
You had no playbook, right? The only thing that you had is, have you been there before? Right. And we would look into our warehouses, you know, how many times did we deliver there? Okay. And then you would say, well, we were there 2 weeks ago. We were there last week. We were there this Friday. And it was a warm call, right? Because you already built trust and credibility, the fact that you were just there.
Sure.
There was no like Tom, or I think we had Thomas Net back in the day.
Mm-hmm. They still use that. That's like an old
Is it?
register.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah, it's
So literally I would go and I'd print, okay, so I want to go and call paper companies. I would print a list of all the paper companies based in, you know, 4 or 5 different states.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd go into a back room and I would just make calls all day. And there's no LinkedIn, right? So you're just gatekeeper. And you start building relationships with these gatekeepers and you write down the name, you know, Geraldine or, you know, Martha, whoever they were. And you'd call back the next day, hey, Martha, remember me? I'm David. And you start building relationships. And then finally, they would call you back and, I got your message, you get through, or sneakily you would, maybe call after hours and somebody in security who didn't like the boss who would, they would give you like, who manages that freight? Oh yeah, talk to Paul. Okay, good. So the security guys are always like easy for us to go after, but it's just old school tricks. But it was very hard. It wasn't easy, but there were so many different customers out there that you didn't really understand how to verticalize your industry. You just took, all right, I'm good at paper, I'm going to go do paper. And it was almost like, I like to say that sales is really split in two ways. One is a tornado approach, where think of Uber in a lot of ways, think of Oracle back in the 1980s, where they just gobble up as much market share as you possibly can. You fence out your competition, right? Then you get market share and everybody goes away. The other one is kind of a bowling alley approach, where you knock down each bowling pin. Okay, this is CPG, this is industrials, this is autos, this is food and beverage, and you become like the domain subject matter expert in each of those kind of bowling pins, and then you just kind of move to the next one. And that's really what Uber did really well, and that's what I mean by like Uber taught me how to scale. Back in the old days, it was all the tornado approach. I'm good with paper, I'm going to call every single paper company. I'm good with metals, scrap metals, I'm going to call every single scrap metal company. And it was much harder back then to do it, but you had less competition. And the game changed when Coyote came in. It was like, okay, they got all this money from Warburg, because C.H. Robinson's a dividend for many, many years. They're not growing, they're not scaling. I mean, C.H. Robinson could have crushed Coyote, they could have crushed XPO, they could have crushed Command multiple times, like Echo. But the fact is, like, it's a $1.6 trillion industry, and CH has always been like, we don't really care. We're big enough. We're the big bad wolf. We're going to keep growing and scaling incrementally. And we're so big, we pay a freaking dividend. Mm-hmm. And that is just unheard of in our industry. But they could have crushed everybody. But then Coyote came in and said, we're going to basically buy the market in that tornado approach. And they grew from, culture. They grew from good processes. They built Bazooka. Like Jeff Silver is arguably the, living legend when it comes to, no one builds a better TMS than he has, right? He built the ABH one. He built Coyote. He's got the new company that he's got out right now. Mastery, right? So kudos to him. He's a subject matter expert in that one thing. And we know, like, the reason why this industry scales is because of a TMS, and he built, the first one. And so everything kind of just waterfalls back to that. And if you've got a great TMS and gives you insights and data analytics and everything else and customer insights,
and it gives you SOPs, processes.
It gives you processes, right?
If you set it up.
If you set it up right. And I'm sure, I mean, you were
Coyote,
at Coyote, right?
Had that Bazooka, had that, absolutely. Yeah. I even, when you were talking about making those calls to those first customers, I noticed you made a motion as if you were writing that down on a piece of paper.
Oh, yeah.
You were?
Oh, yeah. No. We had fax machines. 2005. Yeah. Everything was up until like 2010, 2011. We used to, at Uber, we used to say, like, when we first put, I don't know, I came like 2 years after Uber started, but our market pitch was, hey, this industry is so antiquated that there's still people with fax machines. And that was true as of like 2017, 2019. But everything was on a piece of paper. It would take an old rate confirmation that we didn't need. That was my scrap paper. I'd go into the back room. I'd make sales calls. I'd print out lists of, all the warehouses that I'd just delivered to, because those became leads. That was the best feature we ever did, by the way, at Trek. So this is what I love. We took, and they were great at this. You were able to, so when you build a warehouse, Gary and Johnny say every facility is a lead, right? We were able to take that facility, that warehouse, and convert it into a customer lead. And then it was able to give you, like, when you were there, how many times you've been there, how much money you made, who the carriers were. So you had like tribal knowledge of making that. It was a cold sales call, but it was really a warm sales call
Yeah,
because
of
you had
course.
data to back you up and support you.
And in many ways, you probably already reached out to them to set up scheduling appointments and stuff like that. So they already knew you. And like if you schedule appointments and you actually delivered on time, they're like, oh, this is actually a good company.
Yeah. And that was the other thing. There were no like C3 portals or anything like that to get appointments. It was you just picking up the phone and learning their names and developing those relationships.
It's more human.
It was so much more human. I mean, we started pre-cell phones, and that changed the game. Cell phones like kind of coincided with Coyote at like 2006, 2008, right? And like everybody had a regular cell phone, like the Nokia flips and so forth. But it wasn't like, it was the smartphones, the Blackberries, the Palm Pilots, the Palm Pre's, forget what it's called. I think Palm Pre. And you had the Pilots and the Blackberries, and you had to take work home with you.
That's when you had to start taking freight home with you. Brokerage home.
Cell phones. When cell phones.
When smartphones came.
Yes, because you had to respond, right? And what happened was we conditioned our customers and, our vendors and suppliers and so forth to have instant communication, because people want to know where their product is. People want to know that you can pick up that load first thing in the morning. Like you, all of a sudden, what happened was you close up shop 5:15, 5:30, right? 4:30, depending on what shift you were on. You'd wake up in the morning, you get to the office, you got 25 emails and they're all quotes. And you spend the first 25 minutes emailing quotes for the day, right? So what happened now is once you have a cell phone and you've got email onto that cell phone, now you're sitting at home, you're eating dinner and you're quoting your customers, and then you're getting those orders. Then you come in the next morning, you build those loads. You start conditioning the customer of instant gratification, instant responses. Yeah. And then it becomes like, how fast can you respond? And not only are you conditioning your customers, but then you're also, the self-awareness is going on. Wait a second. If I respond fast, there's elasticity with growth for me because I can get that load, because it's speed to execution with our customers. They don't necessarily care about the lowest price. They're like, I need to know if that load can pick up or not. Sure. And I've got it. I've got you covered at 7:30 at night. So when you start responding at 7:30 at night, they tender the order over, you get it, versus waiting and then competing with 10 other 10 other brokers, first thing Friday morning for that load. So like cell phones changed this game so much in the smartphones did 2028 or 2008, 2006, whatever it was. Yeah.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Control Chain. Struggling to find loads? Control Chain offers a cost-effective solution for carriers to secure more freight contracts with reliable shippers. Plus, you get a free tool that automates tasks like managing order details, updating customers, and sending PODs. Say goodbye to spreadsheets, emails, and phone calls. With Control Chain, you can manage everything on one platform, from planning and execution to getting paid. Sign up at controlchain.com and start receiving loads today. And it's like this industry is so competitive that I think that was like the driving force behind that, right? Because like if you got an email from a customer where you're like, oh, there's not that many competitors, like they're relying on me, you could wait until the next day. Like they just have to wait. Just like you were saying, in this industry of freight, like the reason why we're so like, I guess focused on customer service, or you didn't even say that. You said that freight customer service, logistics customer service is off the charts compared to other industries.
Yes.
And that's because of the competitiveness. Like there's so many people hungry for that load.
Right.
And so if you don't reply fast enough, you're not going to get it. And if it's like, also if you don't update fast enough, you're not going to get more loads and so forth. So it's like, and I think when you see the people that are successful in this industry, it's just the competitive drive that like gets them there, because there's really nothing special. It's like, it's not rocket science, right?
No, look, I always say this, and you're 100% right. And I was a shipper, at G3, which is the supply chain for E&J Gallo, which is the world's largest winery. Shippers care about 5 things. Like, I'm going to dumb this thing down, right? When I came here and we're working with our customer success, that's the first thing we did. We changed our name and we did now customer success, right? It's start building that, intrinsic nature of supporting the customer more. Shippers really care about 5 things. And if you do these 5 things, you will scale, I promise. Number 1, they just want data accuracy. There's EDI errors, there's API errors, there's building manual load, fat finger errors. Okay, So build your loads correctly. And by the way, at XPO, we had one of our largest accounts in that office. There were so many EDI errors. We had to hire an EDI error specialist just to service that customer. So it manifests in a way that if you don't take care of it, you actually attrit those customers. So
would tracking fall into that? Track and trace?
Absolutely. So then it really falls in the next one, and that's visibility on your loads, right? So it's data accuracy, visibility on loads. If you have we've like the smartphone, we've conditioned ourselves to where's my freight at all times, right? It's the Amazon effect. When you buy something, I think I use the example. My wife was like, I can't leave the house because the package is 6 houses down. We're conditioned now to constantly see where's my package, where's my freight at all times. Okay, so it's table stakes, whether you're P44, FortKites, MacroPoint, Text Locate, Uber, like Convoy, like it's table stakes, right? It's not it used to be a competitive advantage. Like, oh, well, we've got this digital tracking or we have locate or blah, blah, blah. Not anymore. It's table stakes for everybody. The next one is service level, like meeting your customers' SLAs. Are you accepting their loads? Is your tender acceptance high, right? They demand that you're 98 to 100% tender acceptance. Are you picking up on time? So whatever that SLA is it 96? Is it 98%? Is it 98.5%? Are you picking up on time and are you delivering on time? So those are your SLAs. And by the way, that is the elasticity for growth. I know the price sensitivity is of buyers and the personas of buyers. Everyone thinks it's price sensitive. But if you go to any of the largest CPG customers in the world and you're having a conversation with these shipping managers, it's not price. You are never talking price. You were talking service. You were talking SLAs. You were talking expansion opportunities, modal selection opportunities. It is full network, like holistic view, end to end, and price never comes up. It comes up during RFPs, but very, very rarely, unless there are market undulations, you will give financial performance and so forth, but price is not the beginning of it or the end of a conversation with that. The fourth thing, and this is something we learned at Uber through iterating on our platform, was shippers want a single POC. When kind of, shit hits the fan per se, they just want one POC. And, you can build these high volume teams and, you got this big coffee shipper and maybe you got 5 people allocated towards it or 7 people allocated towards it. Who are they going to call when there's damage freight? Who are they going to call when there's a QBR that needs to be scheduled or an MBR? They just want one POC insurance. Like they want to be updated. Okay. And the last one, and probably the most important, is they want quick, fast, easy dispute resolutions with an AR. Can you invoice properly? Okay. And you'd be surprised of how many companies you actually churn customers or carriers, right? For that matter, your ARIP, you can't pay carriers well, or you can't invoice properly. If there's accessorial disputes, they want that resolved. So it's really important, what I call like 3x3 selling. It's really important to have someone in your accounting that is building a relationship with their accounting team. It's really important for your seller to build relationships with them. And it's really important to have a top-to-top relationship. And if you do that, you get multi-threaded and you get sticky. And all of a sudden you start like what we're doing here, service mode expansion. And you start growing, you start scaling, you're providing more solutions for your customers. It's not just simply, are you the lowest provider? That's transactional. And yeah, you may scale up, but also it's really hard to forecast because it's not contractual freight. And when the markets change, they're gone. And you're just, because it's transactional, you're weeded out, every 2 seconds. So those 5 things you can scale.
Can you do a quick recap, David?
Yeah. So it's data accuracy, it's visibility on loads, it's meeting your SLAs, it's having a single POC, and it's, good accounting practices, ARAP. You do those 5 things well, like it's a simple business.
It's all process driven.
It's all process driven. Again, it all goes back to if you've got a great TMS that is intuitive, that moves freight left to right, and everything is built properly, you will scale. And that's what Jeff Silver, like, it's what he did really well, is he recognized that this business is really about understanding the shipper's pain points and also understanding the carrier's pain points. And how do you combine the two of them? And then, I can scale the business by having really good insights into both of them. And that is what ultimately became a TMS. Otherwise, it was just a database. Like,
Yeah, definitely. So going back to like Coyote coming into the picture, Tom over here was the youngest intern at Coyote at the age of 17.
Yeah. Right. I was late to my high school graduation. It was like a Friday, and I was leaving Coyote, like amazing
So
training
you were
program.
working there during high school.
Yeah, I was working there during high school, my last days of high school, and
That's incredible.
yeah, it was awesome. Coyote was the coolest place to work for, and I just remember walking in there. Wolf of Wall Street came out, and like the energy, the vibe was so cool. And
What year was that, Tom?
2013.
2013 was when you're graduating high school, and so you were there when it's already like in Chicago office. They were quite big.
Yeah,
at
the
that point.
headquarters.
That's 5 years in.
Mhm.
So like I'm curious because like I got into logistics in 2015, and so David, you saw the difference that Coyote made. What it brought.
yeah.
Like let's dissect that.
Okay. So let's start. So like ABH, the history, ABH, American Backhaul, sells to C.H. Robinson. C.H. Robinson just does their thing. Then
1999, by the way.
Then I think Paul Loeb, who started ABH, bought D&D, which became Command, started growing and investing into Command. Okay. And then that started growing, scaling to $500 million.
It was like 2005-ish?
2005, 2006, something like that. Yep.
Okay.
Then Coyote came in. And so then they started competing with each other, right?
So Paul Loeb competing against Jeff Silver,
Silver,
and they were business partners at American Backhaulers.
Oh, yeah.
But it was like friendly competition. Like,
Of course. I mean, I'm sure they probably wanted to crush each other, but yes, it was friendly, right?
Yeah.
Business is business. They were competing against talent and customers and so forth, but they also had different customer segmentations. Coyote is really focused on enterprise and tier ones and capturing as much volume as they possibly could. Yeah, right. The private fleet initiative, that was new, right? What they did with Heineken was incredible. Like that was a game changer in the way that you think about leveraging empty capacity with, trucks on your existing customers.
Let's get deeper in that in a little bit.
Yeah. So that was terrific. And then XPO came in. And XPO was, who's this, Brad Jacobs guy? Is a PE. And by the way, Cambridge, first investor.
I know that.
At XPO.
So I was curious when we were talking outside the podcast, like before the interview, I was wondering if you might have known Ben Gordon because of that.
I did not.
That's what I was wondering.
In fairness.
Okay,
We met later on. But Cambridge, that's what I was saying. Like Cambridge is one of the most recognizable, private equity investors in our space.
I remember I went on Crunchbase. This was like a few years ago, just when Cambridge acquired Everest. I was like curious what the buyer was. That's when I learned of Cambridge. And I went on Crunchbase, I think that's the website. And like I think Cambridge invested like $100 million in 2011 to XPO. Does that sound reasonable or no? Because I have no idea.
I don't have that answer.
Okay.
Yeah,
it might. I might not be accurate.
Maybe,
but I just remember I just saw that it was a big investment that they made.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 10 million. I forgot, but I think it was 10x to 100 million. That's what it was more reasonable.
Right.
But okay, so this was XPO.
So this is XPO, and like a great story was Brad walked into our office at Trek many years ago, and I remember Gary saying, some guy, Wall Street guy, is coming in to look at getting in the freight brokerage world. Well, turns out, it was Brad and so forth. But, here the guy does waste management. He does, United Rentals, and he's doing a lot of buying fragmented spaces and consolidating it. And you're looking around, you're scratching your head. You're like, this industry is really fragmented, right? This is ripe for consolidation. And we knew we had something really, really good at XPO when we first started.
And what year was that?
This was 2013,
2013. So Coyote was already in full swing.
Yeah, 2012 maybe. Yeah.
So like the big players at the time was Coyote, XPO, and then Command.
XPO we're small. We were $185 million company.
Okay, so but Command wasn't acquired yet, right?
No, Command was acquired 2015. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because Reed was at Echo then.
He was at Echo.
Yeah, so Echo acquired Command. So like the landscape just continues to change.
Yes.
But
the thing about Brad, which was Brad was, what's that expression about playing chess when others are playing like checkers? Right. That was Brad. He was so far ahead of I remember having a conversation. We had a team like this, and Brad goes, well, one day there's going to be autonomous trucks. And this is like 2014, like, what? No way. And digitalization of freight. Like, he was so far ahead of everybody else, when it came to like a vision. He had a vision. He mapped this thing out. When he looked at, so XPO started in like 2011. He came to Trek in like 2008, 27. So he was doing his homework
For a long
3-4 years in advance, and he had the blueprint ready. And kudos to him, because I think it was a top 10 stock of the last decade.
I just started investing in QXO like a couple weeks ago. Yeah. I was listening to his interview with David Senner on the Founders Podcast, and I was like, anything he touches, I feel like I just put money in it. I just trust him.
He brings a tremendous amount of shareholder value.
I love his energy.
Yeah,
his energy is like off the charts.
But I'll tell you though, what Brad brought to the table that was different is he went after RFPs. Most brokerages at that time, it was basically asset driven. So he went and, called one of my good friends, Eric Williams. I don't know if you guys know Eric.
Eric Williams?
Yeah.
He was a target, right?
He was a target.
And now he's got his own software or something.
He does, Beagle.
Yeah.
Terrific.
I follow him on LinkedIn. It's funny. I've never talked to him in person, but like.
So I hired Eric.
Get out of here.
Yeah, at XPO.
So we once shared a post like that he had on LinkedIn on our newsletter. And like, he posted on LinkedIn, like, thank you Freight Caviar for sending like 100 inbound leads to me, because he was a target at that time.
Yeah.
So you hired Eric.
I hired Eric. He was a seller for me. And I'm like, you're the smartest. You're way too smart to do this. Like, you're just conceptually like, no. You're he's a data analyst, right? There's nobody that knows this business better than Eric. And it's great when the teacher becomes, the student. And that's kind of what happened. And so we said, Brad wanted to go after RFPs. And so they had Eric and another team, and they moved from Chicago down to
Damn, we got to interview Eric.
Yeah. Oh, you got to get it.
I didn't know that story. That's
Eric's got some wild stories.
That's cool.
So Eric built the RFP team, him and another person. They built the RFP strategy and product and everything over at XPO back in the day. A few other people, I'm sure, that I'm missing out, but that was their brain to build this out. And XPO started winning a lot of contractual freight and no longer became, an ad hoc broker and just living on spot boards. I don't even think they're spot boards, they're emails, spot emails.
So Command, after American Backhaulers, C.H. Robinson acquires the first people there. They start leaving C.H. Robinson, starting Command, Coyote. Yeah. 2011 XPO. Yeah. And then shortly after you join XPO, right, leaving Trek. Yeah. And Trek was also another company that started after CH acquired American Backhaulers.
Yeah.
Do you remember what year Trek started, more or less?
I think 2001.
2001. So Trek,
so they were even before Command.
Trek was like the first one.
Trek was the first one.
Trek, there was like, there's three. There was like TSG, which became Redwood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was started by also from American.
They were all ABH guys.
I know then, and then Noam Frankel went to TSG for a little bit, because I did an interview with Noam last year, and his story was all really fascinating, because he left, like, I think he really regrets leaving American Backhaulers when he left.
Yeah, probably.
But then he ended up
left some money on the table.
Yeah, left some money on the table. But then he ended up going back to logistics through TSG, Redwood. Yeah, but sorry, go ahead.
There was like Circle 8.
That was. Do you know the year?
Oh, they all started at the same time.
Like everyone left at 2001.
Yeah, they had their non-competes. They wrote out their non-competes. Everything was copacetic. And then they started these brokerages. There's like 4 or 5.
Why do you think the American Backhauler people were confident enough to leave CH and start brokerages? Like, why do you think they understood it, whereas everyone at CH Robinson didn't understand? I think I do too, but wait, tell us.
Because we interviewed Phil at TIA last year.
We interviewed
Phil from CH Robinson.
Okay,
and he was there. He's been there for like 30 years.
He's the guy that took a plane from Washington and landed in the middle of like a field in Idaho or something.
Yes, he did. But someone should just listen to that podcast. Yeah. But the cultures were so different. There's a culture class between
Okay.
because C.H. Robinson Coyote and not Coyote, American Backhaulers, where they got like acquired, and all of a sudden they're in this corporate like
Well, they
publicly
changed the
traded
comp
company.
structure too, right?
They changed their comp structure.
for
too.
sure. For
And
sure.
so incentives was a big reason.
Oh yeah.
And the culture.
They also just saw this huge exit, right?
So everyone was loaded.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Not
no,
loaded.
no.
They wanted to get loaded.
They
They saw
wanted to. They saw the exit
They saw
of
that.
how much what the multiple
They
was
wanted the
for.
opportunity. They see there's money to
Yeah.
be made.
All the other top people at American Backhaulers wanted this opportunity after seeing what American Backhaulers sold
Sure, they're
for.
all, as a freight broker, we're all entrepreneurs, right? That's we think of you. I always try to say in commercial sales, you own your own P&L, right? You're a P&L owner. So if famous line, if you want to go, why do you want to go in sales? It's because I can give myself a raise every single day, right? That's why we're in this business. No other place outside of sales can you do that. If you're a teacher, you got to wait a year, right? If you're a doctor, et cetera. But in sales, specifically freight brokerage, you want to raise, make 10 more calls, shoot 10 more emails. And so that was the reason why is they recognized that there was an opportunity to be an entrepreneur because they already had it in them. And now they just saw this huge successful exit from ABH to C.H. Robinson. And they're like, well, I could do that. So they wrote out their non-compete. Everything was copacetic for them. And then they started their own companies.
Do you feel like a part of that TMS that was built within American Backhaulers really explained the business really well to them
Yes.
as well? Where maybe C.H. Robinson people didn't have a TMS that kind of explained it as well? Or
Well, I think what happened, don't quote me on this, pretty 90% sure. What happened was the TMS that they bought, the software that
because C.H. bought American
became
Backhaulers for the
Navisphere,
TMS.
right. Became, it used to be called Express, and Express turned into Navisphere and what they have. But yeah, so what's the software that they are running now is different, but the original software, which everybody loves, which we had basically at Trek, they all kind of did the same thing. It all came back to,
So the board moving, the cards moving, because when I was
left to
talking,
right.
when
Left to
Noah was explaining it to us, because in the office, American Backhauler office, he just had like the index cards on the board, and they were just
Right.
doing it physically, and then he just brought it into the digital.
But I think that this is what I think most people miss the mark on. And I'm a commercial guy, right? I build commercial sales and so forth. So that is my skill set. This is a capacity centric brokerage. Like this space, if you really want to be good, it's all about capacity. It's access to capacity. Because think about it. What service do we provide to our customers? We provide liquidity, right? We provide access to capacity, which is liquidity for our brokers, which they can buy and procure at a better rate, right? Or something that needs to be moved faster, right? Instant access to liquidity. That's why brokerages exist. That's why we will always exist, because we can do it at a scale much faster, much bigger, without the G&A costs, right? That a shipper would provide. Because
G&A, general and administrative.
Correct.
Mhm.
Yes. So think about it like if a large shipper, if a medium-sized shipper that maybe moves, call it $40 million a year in freight, if they really wanted to grow, they would have to hire multiple people, right, into their business, and that adds 10, 12, 15, 20, 30,000 hours a month in headcount just to operationalize that. Or they could call a broker who can do it for them. Now, large enterprise shippers like Target and so forth, they build out their entire networks and their teams and so forth. But not everybody has the luxury of adding, a couple $1 million a year to incremental, G&A costs of their business. Brokerages exist really for instant access and liquidity of the market at a much reduced scale from an OpEx perspective than, a shipper would normally provide. So if you think about that, and I keep reading all this, I'm going on a tangent here, but I keep reading all these horror stories about brokerage. Like, I'm bullish right now. I am really, really bullish because what's happening is a lot of these brokerages who opened up in, the market during COVID and so forth, one, they're out. Okay. Feel bad for them, but they took advantage of a few years of, really inflated prices, and they made a lot of money and they overspent and they're out. Okay. Other brokerages who don't have good processes, don't have good SOPs, they're going to be out because of the way the business is moving towards. Then you have a situation of, okay, AI is coming in, right? That's going to force some brokerages out. And then, so those are like kind of the headwinds that you have outside of, the secular headwinds of, you got volumes are down, CDLs are down, you've got non-domiciled CDLs actually in the market. You've got ICE coming in, shutting down locations. Okay. All that's there. And it's doom and gloom. And I hear these pundits and these academic people and writing these newspapers and on these media and these websites, and everything is doom and gloom. However, look at the other tailwinds. So housing is going to be unlocked. Interest rates can go down. Majority of our volume is in aggregate is a brokerage, is not just us, but all brokerages, comes from housing, right? So that's going to be unlocked. You've got a bull market in like energy right now, in data infrastructures, in warehousing. So all those things, plus, I mean, what happened the last few years is rate per mile, right? The OpEx costs were higher than what they were yielding on a rate per mile perspective. So on a weekly basis, carriers are losing $600 a week. That's getting inverted right size. Spot rates are now higher than contract rates. RFPs are resetting in Q1, Q2, right? So you could probably pull forward that June outlook of rates will start increasing in June, to pull that forward to like maybe early Q2. So all those things are positive for our industry. But it all goes back to, and this is my long-winded tailwind here, it all goes back to, do you have the right processes, right? Can you manage off the P&L? And do you know how to scale? If you do those three things, which I was blessed and very fortunate to learn in my career, you can grow and you can scale. And then you do have those five skill sets that I said about what is the most important thing for a brokerage. There's nothing but upside. And it's a $1.6 trillion industry. Global logistics is $4 trillion, I think. There's enough room for everybody in the sandbox, but it's not one of those, there's going to be winners and losers and everyone's going to take market share and like, no. It's too big. C.H. Robinson, the reason why they allowed Coyote to exist and Command to exist and XPO to exist is because the TAM was too big. They didn't care. Like, go ahead. Now, do they care now? Sure. I mean, they always cared, but they're differentiating ways of bringing in, AI and everything like that. But their volumes aren't growing. Their EBITDA percentage is up, but their volumes are actually contracting. All that said is, when the market does flip, and it will flip sooner than everybody thinks. It's not as doom and gloom. You will start seeing very bullish signs, and those that know how to operationalize and do those five things are going to be very, very successful. And that's what we're building here.
I agree. And there's a lot of doom and gloom everywhere.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
But
that's actually good for you.
I love it. There's the old Warren Buffett line. I don't know if you guys know this. Yeah, you're going to know this.
Let's go. Yeah.
Get greedy when others are fearful, and get fearful when others are greedy. And the headline from Cambridge, and I loved it when they introduced me, was, "We're doubling down."
I love it.
Let's go, right? And
you'll only get this about here on Freight Caviar, baby.
Well, thanks for having me.
Oh my God. Thank you, David. Radom? Radom?
Yeah, Radom. You come on, Poland.
Yeah. It's a city very close to
It's a city in Poland, yeah.
Fire. You are dropping fire, my friend.
I hope so. But at the end of the day, there's so many different brokerages out there, and there's so many different carriers out there, and there's so many different shippers out there. There's enough room for everybody to be really successful if you make your bed every morning and you do your routines and you do the right things, not only for your employees, but for your customers. And then you create new innovation, you advance in different service modes. Like, you can be a niche broker and be very successful. You can have an agency model and be very successful. Like, all of this can be true. it's not a one take all kind of pie here. We can take a little slice here, we could take a little bite here, and we can make a ton of money and do really, provide a lot of value to, our vendors and our suppliers and our employees and our investors.
Do you still consult?
I have not. So full disclosure, I was consulting for a year.
You were consulting other brokerage owners how to build brokerages.
Yes.
Just FYI, this is who David Radom is.
Yeah.
This is the information you're getting. Like, people pay big money for this information. And because you joined, you are not consulting anymore.
No, I'm done.
Wow.
I am consulting my team now.
Wow.
And for caviar listeners,
Yeah.
Yes. I've noticed, Paul, I don't know, and David, are you getting the sense that a lot of customer reps and just people in brokerages are starting to start agencies?
yes.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I mean,
agencies are becoming very popular.
Well, agencies, I
feel
think, are just they're gaining ground just because of the fact that you, as a brokerage, you could scale like infinitely with an agency without losing any capital. Right? You don't have any overhead when you don't have to. You're not hiring an employee. You're just having them as an agent. So you like, if they bring in, I guess the kill, like everyone eats. Whereas if they don't, they don't have to pay for it.
So they kind of have 0.5 on David's like 5 things that you need for a successful brokerage as far as operationalizing it. And number 5 was accounting and A&R.
Yes.
And that cash flow and all of that. And an agency model gives that to your average person who's like not loaded, but you join an agency, now you're loaded, and you have the entire accounting system there with an agency.
They do it for you, right?
And so they do it for you.
Yeah.
That's
And
what
so
they get- that's
there's
what they get paid
margin,
for.
there's like margin degradation for you as the agent because you're outsourcing your workflow, right? So if I was an agent for ETS Simple, we do the invoicing, we do the carrier booking, we do, the sending the paperwork to the customers and so forth. So you would lose a percentage of that margin as a result of it. So you're basically like, you get a higher multiple from like a revenue per load perspective because you're a 1099 independent contractor. So you make more money than a traditional sales rep because you're not salaried. However, you give up a portion of it because you basically are an agent and you need somebody to operationalize the business for you, right? Your job as an agent, it really is to just bring on new customers and sell, so forth.
It's usually a 70-30 split. At least that's what's common nowadays.
That's common.
It makes it
70-30.
much easier for you if you don't
Just
know
sort of
what to
brokerage.
do. If you don't fully understand all these other things.
Yeah.
Although if you have
The
information like you, it's like, dude, I'm just going to do it myself.
Yeah,
right?
you certainly can. The difference is like, who's the customer segmentation that you want to go after? It really needs to be SMBs because mid-market strategic, enterprise, tier ones, et cetera, they really don't want to work with agents, right? Because you don't get the full scope of what you're offering at that other company. If I was still at Uber and we had an agency model, my seller who was a direct W-2 employee is going to get access to the full portfolio of Uber products versus that agent who's only going to get access to capacity, right? So it's just there's give and takes.
Would you offer an agent model within now that you're taking over, Everest?
If
Have you
the
thought about
unit
that at all?
economics made sense and the customer segmentation made sense, we would certainly look at it. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What I love
I'm not
about
saying no.
everything that you just said is that like the sandbox is so big, a lot of us can play if you're willing to put in the work, if you have the knowledge, like a lot of us can make money. Anyone that's taking the time to listen to these damn 2-3 hour long conversations, like you can really make it in this next flip, right? So you've got some time before the market flips to learn, figure it out, and potentially
You can scale, you can grow. There's never a better time to be a broker than right now.
boom,
And I'm going to say that.
boom.
And I stand
Yeah.
right behind
I would say it's like the 1990s, like
I'm serious.
right during deregulation, there was no rules.
Correct.
I mean, I would have said that would have been the best
I
time.
mean, you got AI coming in, you've got all the
So,
solution-based selling that
I
you
want to
can
get
have.
into AI in a second.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what's up with AI? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
So automating your internal work streams is where I see AI living for brokerages the most. Okay. You can reduce costs naturally. That is a byproduct of AI. You can get better intelligence with your customers, better intelligence with your load board, better visibility into your data. What's my average revenue per load for, Niagara last week? Oh, yeah, I can get that for you in 2 seconds. I'm just using Niagara because Paul's a friend of mine and so forth. Externally, you can use AI for covering your loads and, outsourcing, getting your paperwork and all that kind of thing. And coverage is certainly a huge portion of it. But I think the best use case is really AI bots that are helping you with, customer acquisition, with internal functionality of your business versus the external sell side. There's the sell the market and there's the buy the market. Sell the market is what your customers, buy the market is how well you're procuring. But that's external. Internal AI is where I think you're going to get the most use case and the most bang for your buck and value. And you're going to get the best insights on your people and on your customers and your data analytics and automating your processes and your emails and your sequences that you're doing. All that stuff is going to take a lot of time off your plate, ultimately reduce your customer costs, right? Your acquisition costs to your customers, what we call CAC. And if you reduce your CAC, then that savings goes back to the customer, which ultimately goes back to the consumers or shareholders and so forth. So I see AI as transformative. I don't think it's going to disrupt this industry in a way that a lot of these, doom and gloom people say, like, oh, you're going to get all these, OpEx, you're going to get rid of all your employees and it's just going to be agents running around. No, I don't see that as the ultimate end game or use case.
Yeah.
I think it just provides better intelligence to you, your customer, your carrier, everybody that's associated within your organization.
Would Brad Jacobs say the same?
Let's ask AI.
Well, I mean, look, what he's doing when he's in the roofing business, right? He's building out AI for, QXO's infrastructure, their operating system, right? Our operating system is our TMS. AI is going to be working within our TMS. We are currently at ETS Simple working on developing that right now, proprietary AI for our TMS. That's what he's doing over at QXO. I can't speak, for Brad, but ultimately, you still need people. That's not going away. The
Amount of people?
Sure, that'll be reduced. Yeah, it'll be reduced.
It'll be more efficient. So the A players will stay.
So yeah.
The ones that are, maybe a little bit lazier, like you got to step.
That's the cold truth right there.
Yeah.
Very hot topic, right?
I mean, in every office you have A players, B players, C players, and it's like the A players are going to be fine. So if anything, it's like, hey, if you're
A players are going to book a shit ton of freight now.
Yeah.
And they're going to have a ton of
But
freight.
at the end of the day, like, why do you keep C players around anyways?
I mean, they'll do better in another industry. They're not cut out for this.
Look, I've hired over 1,000 people in my life. Probably fired almost that amount.
And
but
those people will probably thank you anyway.
That would have been the perfect freaking video for Tom. Don't interrupt, okay? Tom, no interrupting.
no, I've hired over 1,000 people in my career and probably let go of 800-900 of them. Why would anybody keep around an underperformer? Because you know what that happens is your best performers get angry because it pulls them down as an organization. What you do as a great leader, as really good leaders in whether it's, Jamie Dimon or, all these great, business leaders, Warren Buffett, et cetera, is you continuously raise the bar for your best performers every single year and you watch them achieve it. And those that don't, you kind of you manage them out. This industry is not for everybody. If you want a salary job, go be a teacher. Like, we're freight brokers.
Mm-hmm.
We're just bred differently in a lot of ways.
I agree.
That's real.
Yeah. I mean, and you did touch about or you brought up the human component of it back when you were at Trek. You were calling on, paper and building these relationships. And obviously the human component is still so important. That's why AI is not going to be able to replace that.
Look, AI is valuable. It's important. It's not going to it will truly disruptive behavior is only disruptive when it changes the end user. Okay. If it's not changing the end user,
Which
then
is the trucking company.
which is the trucking company or your shippers. Okay. So has there been anything in the last 5 years that's changed the behaviors of our customers or our carriers? Maybe a few things, right? Maybe digitalization carried it. Maybe these tracking locations, right? Technology's changed it. It's innovated. But like, we put a lot of guardrails in this industry over the last 5 years, right? These non-domiciled CDLs, we put a lot of guardrails in our hours of service, right? We pulled back our average length of haul in 2013 and 2014 at XPO was 750 miles. Now the average length of haul nationally is, sub 500 miles, right? You've got RDCs, which were regional deployment centers. Now they're called rapid deployment centers, right? Everyone that wants that Amazon effect. Okay. Truly like disruptive, disingenuous, like innovations occur when the end users have to fundamentally change. So how is AI going to change the carrier? How is it going to change the customer? Will it? Yes, it will. But it's mainly going to change the way you as a company operate your business.
Hey everyone, before we jump into today's episode, I did want to take a second to tell you a little bit about our new sponsor, Levity.ai. In freight, time is money and efficiency is key. That's where Levity comes in. Imagine automating your email operations to do more with less effort. Levity connects directly to your inboxes, extracting vital information from emails and attachments in real time. It seamlessly integrates with your TMS, empowering you to quote faster, build loads more efficiently, and book more freight in less time. Whether it's incoming emails from shippers or carriers, Levity's got you covered. It understands any language, any format, and even interprets non-standard formatting. Visit Levity.ai today to sign up and get started.
I think that is so perfect as to what we were just talking about when the smartphone, that Cranberry came out, that smartphone, and Blackberry, and we were talking about competition. Blackberry, yeah, I love it. And we were talking about how competition drove a lot of that behavior change where people were working from home, etc. But I think a lot of it was also the opportunity, the incentive for like, oh, I can make extra money while I'm at dinner tonight or before bed. I could start making all this extra money. And so I think that drove people. But we're going to see the same with AI where like, oh, I could make a lot more money if I do this AI agent that's like helping me track and trace this, and boom, 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 boom. And it's going to be that same effect.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Build the AI off those 5 things. Okay.
Yes. Build that AI off of those 5 things.
So can the AI fix the EDI errors? Yes. Can it fix the API errors? Yes. Can it flag those errors as exceptions, when they hit? Yes. Okay. Visibility. Will they replace track and trace? Probably. Right. It's happening. Like let's just call a spade. Yeah. That's happening. What about SLAs? Okay.
Service level agreements.
Will it flag the loads that are being, rejected? For sure. Will it flag the loads that are potentially missing or on time pickup or delivery? Yes. Will it provide better prescriptive routing guides with the right carriers? Yes. Okay. Let's go to the single point of contact. Does it change? No. Does it change on the AR and the AP, quick, fast, easy dispute resolutions? Yes. You can invoice faster. You can get your PODs faster. You can look at your mismatches on your invoices faster. You can look at your accessorial bleed. You can dive into which your customers are better when it comes to, payment, or carriers that are abusing you on accessorials. All those things AI can do really good, except for number 4, and that is a single POC.
So if you're a brokerage today, what you really want to be focused on is those other 4 and figuring out an AI specialist partner or bringing them in-house to develop all of those 4 other things for you as soon as possible. Because when you're one of the first people to it, you're going to have the blue ocean effects. You're going to have much more market. You're going to be able to run and make more money quicker than others. So in a lot of ways, it is an AI race to be the first company that can solve all 4 of these things internally.
Well, look, it's still a $1.6 trillion industry, and C.H. Robinson's the number 1 with a market share of what, $18 billion of that? There's a long runway and a lot of green fields for everybody to have a stake in that in that pie, right?
Even if you don't have all that capital to bring people in house or to be creative.
If that was said and done, we at Uber would have just owned the market by now.
Repeat that one more time. If Uber had,
If Uber, like if it was
cap-
just pure capital, right? Uber would just bought the market. The reality is, and if people don't realize this about Uber, it's a terrible misconception, is Uber brokers really well. Like fundamentally, we as former Uber alumni, and I'm very proud to be an Uber alumni.
You guys got all the best from all these other brokerages.
We learned from everybody. We bought the market as far as like what our BTM, like how well we procured and how well we sold. Like Uber made money. Uber Freight makes money. Let me repeat that. Uber Freight makes money. That's variable contribution dollar positive. When you see in the headlines, oh, Uber loses $30 million or $10 million or so forth, like that's R&D costs, right? They're investing back into their business.
That's so great.
Right?
Yeah.
Those engineers are expensive, right? They're building AI. Like what they're doing is
They're just not paying taxes.
well,
and they just grow.
No, what they're doing is they're up leveling
Yeah.
everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? They're making other
yes,
people
yes.
better and compete. What happened? C.H. Robinson 4 years ago was kind of a bump on the log, right? They weren't innovating. They weren't doing anything crazy. XPO came in, Coyote came in. They took their lunch money, and then Uber comes in and it's like, and Convoy, and everyone's like, oh shit, we got to get a game together. C.H. Robinson did not develop AI last year. They've been working on it for multiple years, and kudos to them for doing so. But as soon as Uber hit and as soon as Convoy hit, they up-leveled everybody else. And that RXO now is digital, right? All these companies that were, pad and paper and pen and pencil, so forth, are now digitizing or showing AI improvements or getting closer to the customer or getting closer to the carrier in ways that they've never done before. That has changed as a result of like the Uber effect. It really made everybody better. And people, I take a lot of offense on like when I hear, oh, Uber this, Uber was a terrific brokerage. We could sling freight with the best of them, is what we used to say. And when you see all these headlines, it doesn't paint the right picture. It doesn't paint an accurate photo. Yeah.
Bad branding?
No, it's not bad branding. It's just the
No,
news.
I'll tell you what it
No.
is. Because our mistakes at Uber were amplified much higher than everybody else's. If
Everyone's
Coyote
watching.
if Coyote makes a boo-boo, right? If Coyote had a boo-boo and missed on that delivery, or had an accident, Food had an accident in the papers, that's not on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. If Uber had a boo-boo, it is blasted on 50 pages across the country.
Everyone talks about it.
Everybody talks about it. We recognize that, hey, we better be buttoned up really, really well. And that what Lior was adamant about that. Like, if we make a mistake, it's not just our mistake. It's the brand mistake. Coyote, XPO, like they got a truck that gets in an accident. No one knows. No one cares. Uber gets in an accident. Uber has stolen load. It's everywhere. So it would put a lot more pressure on us.
What I really appreciate about you, David, is the fact that like before you came on at Everest Simple, I had no idea who you were.
Yeah.
And yet you're just so knowledgeable and so like, you go on LinkedIn nowadays and everyone's posting and everyone's a thought leader, and everyone's like this and that. And like you sometimes get confused because like, oh, you just correlate them, seeing them on LinkedIn as being educated and knowing what they know about the industry. But in reality, I feel like a lot of people don't. Whereas you're just like a gold mine and you're just like spitting out all these treasures left and right. And I'm like, damn, like, I would have thought like you would have been like, at least I would have known you like before then, but I didn't. And I'm just like grateful for the fact that you sat down with us because this is like,
Look, I'm happy to be here.
Cool.
I appreciate it very much. I'm not someone that needs the publicity, right? It's all about
and I love
my
that.
team. It's about my team. Like
You're also old school a little bit
I'm
with
old
that.
school that way,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like I'm old school that way. When I got here, I wanted to learn everybody's names, and there's 30 people in this office right now here in Krakow, Poland, and I know and I not only know their names, but I know where they're from. I know their story, because that's how you build a connection. And the same thing on the customer side. And you grow by building relationships. You grow by understanding what the pain points are. Like we could talk about, oh, we provide this service, we do that, and you scale this way. At the end of the day, relationships still matter. And for me, it was, I can get more out of my life and more satisfaction on what I do by up-leveling and building my team up than me being in the front pages of, LinkedIn.
Sure.
Which, okay, I'll post every once in a while, but
yeah. And I think a lot of like what being a good leader about is about like transferring energy, high energy. And I see that in Brad Jacobs has like in tremendous, like if you look at his energy levels, they're just like, and like the way he does it is like through like, so like at least from what I grasp from the podcast, like, and I've seen him at F3, like, talk, he's always smiling. He's got like positive energy and this optimism. And, like even like when it comes to like, let's say like firing people, like that might be seen as like a negative thing to do, but like you're doing it to uplift the organization because these people are bringing the organization down. So it's like you're coming in and it's like you got to have this, you're optimistic about the brokerage industry, which like I could sense, I could sense this new energy here too. And it's like, okay, like how do I transfer this energy to like the organization?
I don't need this job. I own a painting company in Florida. I swear to God, like I bought a painting company in Florida.
Are painting companies profitable? Just like real quick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
like
and by the way, I took Brad's blueprint. I looked at a fragmented industry that needed consolidation, and I bought a commercial production painting company in Boca Raton, Florida.
PXO coming soon.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm severely colorblind. Okay. I cannot paint anything. And now I own this painting company. But my point being is, if I didn't believe in this industry still, I'm away from my kids. I'm on the road all the time. I am in a foreign country that I don't speak the language. Like I'm 50 years old now, right? And I'm able to wear my Tommy Bahama shirt that my wife got me for my 50th present because now I'm an old man, right? I wouldn't be here. I love this industry. I've got a passion for this business. But more than that, I love my team and I love these people, and it's transferable to every place I've been to. And if you can maximize your team and you can just build that trust and credibility with them, which is really the only two reasons why anybody ever buys from somebody, it's because you've got trust and you've got credibility, and everything else is just noise. So if you can do that and you can get these people all aligned to the vision that you want, now you can match that effort to that vision. Wow. You got hockey stick growth. You got asymmetrical growth. And that's what we're doing here. And we've got the leadership, I've got BGSA, Ben Gordon, strategic advisor, the largest conference in the world behind us, Cambridge Capital. Like, why wouldn't I accept this job?
I love that so much. And because clearly you're about transferring knowledge to other people and making other people better. That's what it's about for you. It's not, yeah. And that's so cool because other people get uplifted just working near you, being near you. They start learning, and you've followed that your entire career. You've always worked. You said, I only work with leaders that I respect and I can learn from. Yeah. And so everybody you've worked for has been somebody that's a legend today.
Yeah, no, I've been blessed. I've been very fortunate that I've surrounded myself with people that are better than me.
And now the people that are around you, like you've absorbed you're like a sponge. You've absorbed all that knowledge, and now you're just like, dude, I can't help but just like give it out. Like,
And
I love it.
And you've been on the shipper side too.
I was.
That's
You were on the
incredible.
shipper side?
Yeah, I was. So E&J Gallo, the largest wine in the world. They've got a supply chain that basically a 4PL that does their freight. I can't really go too much into it, but G3 Enterprises, and so it's out of California logistics for them, and that's how I learned like so much about like the shipper persona. And then you kind of marry like what the shipper persona is to like the disc profile of your customer persona.
Definitely.
Like what are those elasticities for growth, and what do you want to dive into?
This is amazing, just because like earlier we brought up the fact that Tom was a broker at Coyote before he opened his own trucking company, and because he had his brokerage experience, he knew exactly what brokers needed when he was a dispatcher or when he was dispatching his trucks, which is just like, it's a perfect blend. It's just, for you, it's
right?
the same.
It helps so much.
Yeah.
It helps so
So
much.
you guys should
Yeah.
So all four elements of the supply chain are connected, or at least the logistical part of
Understanding the
supply
other
chain.
side.
And by the way, a funny story. I hired Transplace to do my RFP, first RFP at G3, and then fast forward a few years later, like we ended up buying Transplace. So I knew some of those people over there. I was like, oh wow, it's full circle.
Well, I'm like, I know Transplace was acquired by Uber Freight, and like, what was Transplace? They were
They're 4PL.
4PL.
Trans.
So they were managing transportation, and they were hiring like brokerages and carriers to run that. Because like you could manage transportation, hires brokerages.
They were outsourced. They were managing the full network, end to end,
yeah.
right?
And so Uber Freight was probably a customer of Transplace.
Yeah, at some point, yeah.
And
we had accounts within our portfolio, my commercial team that
Okay.
Transplace had managed, right?
Yeah.
But look, Transplace, it wasn't even close. They were industry leader from a reputation and from a, what that organization did. And I mean, I think they started, there were a bunch of like guys from out of Arkansas, JB Hunt.
JB Hunt, yeah.
Right? There were a couple of JB Hunt guys that started that company, and they understood like what the shippers wanted. They built a 4PL and it scaled. I mean, we bought them at a little over $2 billion.
Yeah. That's incredible. So I'm curious, I don't know if we should go in this direction, but I'm just might be a quick question, is like, because you were a smaller shipper, right?
Yep.
Like how much revenue was it, like yearly, or ship transportation?
No, they were enterprise.
Enterprise. It was enterprise.
Gallo.
So okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So if they're enterprise, that is actually perfect, because I was just for some reason thinking that like most like shippers, like SMB shippers would work with let's say Transplace or companies that do managed transportation.
Yeah.
Like, why don't more enterprise shippers work with just managed transportation companies?
It's a great question. I don't know if I have the exact answer to that, but one, it is expensive. Okay. Two is you do lose some control, and some companies, they want to keep everything in house. So I would assume that would be a reason. That's probably the two main reasons that I could think of. But managed transportation it's a great service, and there's a tremendous amount of value into it. You could see why Uber made that, but I think it's giving up control. Okay. And like some of these large enterprise shippers have 100 people within their, or 50 people that are in their, they're all between all their transplanners and load planners and everybody else. That kind of goes away. So
did C.H. Robinson initiate that, or American Backhaulers, or were they like, who are the leaders?
No, that was C. I don't know who initiated. I mean,
but I think
Radom Penske probably, DHL.
Okay, but I'm curious from like the Chicago market and I guess Minneapolis, just because I forgot what it was. Was it C.H. Robinson that like crushed it with managed transport?
So,
or was it American Backhaulers that crushed it, and C.H. Robinson also acquired them for that managed transport?
Backhaulers was just a brokerage.
Just brokerage. Okay, so C.H. Robinson had a focus.
C.H. created my TMC, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
TMC was a 4PL.
I interviewed Ryan. I forgot his last name, but he was on the managed transportation side at C.H. Robinson back in the 90s, late 90s, I guess. Yeah. Like, so okay, so that makes sense. I know this is kind of like divulging into various topics, but I think the historical component, especially with you, is just super interesting to kind of break down. So like C.H. Robinson, like they still crush it at managed transportation, right?
I don't know what their run rate is.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's
they're a top five. They're a top five.
That's like a lot of their business comes from managed transportation.
TMC, yeah.
Yeah. And that's why it's like it's difficult to compete.
Yeah. I think it's still called TMC. Yeah, but yeah.
I think so, yeah. But it's difficult to compete on a managed transportation level, like with a ship, like because the shipper's like just locked in, right?
Yeah, well, they have contracts that are multi-year contracts.
Yeah, but you're buying the technology from like the CH.
Yeah, it's sticky that way.
It's sticky, it's a sticky relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
there's obviously a lot more complexities, and it's expensive for like.
I mean,
do you want to go down that route? Like, I mean, like for Forever Simple, a managed transportation?
I don't. It's hard to say, but probably not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Look,
we will continue to diversify our service modes. Like right now, people don't know this about us, but like we are a really large player in drayage. We move a lot of drayage freight. It's a very large percentage of our total portfolio. And a lot of brokerages just don't do it well. And I've got a team of 7, 8 people here. I've got a team of 7, 8 people in Chicago that are dedicated strictly for drayage. We will continue to work on drop. We will continue to do LTL, intermodal, and build out as a one-stop shop. Does managed trans come into the portfolio? It's not in my immediate 1 year, 2, 3 year plan. But if the right opportunity comes, and this is leaning kind of on Cambridge, as well, we'll discuss it and we'll see if it makes sense. And if it does, then we'll do everything we always do, and that's full speed ahead.
Sure. So what's your game plan right now? I guess you just kind of talked about it a little bit, but if you want to go a little bit deeper and like I'm sure you have some goals, obstacles, and everything in between here.
Yeah, look, I mean, first things first is unify the organization, right? We acquired Simple May Q2 of last year.
This year.
Or this year, sorry. Yeah, this year. So Q2 of this year. And we want to get everybody in the same system. So we got everybody in the same vertically integrated between our TMS, between our tooling.
That's not easy.
That's my God, that's a hard project.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That is even for a small, couple, 100 people organization, that's difficult to do.
Yeah.
All right. So get that done. Then unify our TMS so we are all aligned and looking at the same stuff. A unified platform that's not idiosyncratic the way everyone operates is going to provide us, a larger, runway for us to grow. Then our processes, right? Unify our processes, make everybody kind of marching towards the same beat. Then we have a customer, strategy. What does that go-to-market strategy look like? And we've identified certain areas and segmentations that we want to go after, and we will do that. And then it's diversification within service mode, and then it's encompassing is what is our technology solution that we're bringing in. We are already very tech forward at Everest, and then it's now creating automation. So I've got a head of automation person right now that is building that out. We've got really good developers building out tech stack. Our CTO is terrific. Our CFO is amazing. We've got really good quality people that each of them are kind of doing, have their own projects, and then unifying it all into one. And we've got a terrific platform. So that's our goal. Yeah.
Everyone's rock. You're a big fan of level 10 meetings?
So it used to be, yeah. So I used to run some L10s back in the day.
Tom runs our L10s at here.
Look, I think I think having a meeting is really important, whether it's called an L10. Or, as you get bigger, you graduate from, the verbiage of an L10, because you got to be careful you don't become so systematic within that becomes, everybody's got a North Star. Mm-hmm. But if you just define everything within your L10 as the most important thing, you kind of get stuck in your own way, right? You get kind of stuck in that box. But having a North Star metric, that the entire organization is going after, monitoring that, having your discussions where you discuss, identify, solve, right? All those things that an L10 preaches, it's really good framework to build success. Now, you have to iterate and you have to continue to modify it in a way that is right to form for your business. But for any small business, those cadences are really important. That's the other thing we're doing here is it's about having accountability trees, right? Who do you go to for this? Who owns this? Who owns that? If you don't have those accountability trees, and that's really what the L10 does, is, you're going to fail and you're going to spin as an organization.
Creates processes.
Yeah. I'm a process guy.
Yeah. I guess the theme here was to be process driven, or I guess processes. It's kind of the word of the day today. Yeah. David, this has been amazing. Honestly, I'm looking forward to doing more of these when we come out here, or whenever you come out here.
I'm here a lot. This is my office, guys. I'll be here a lot.
Awesome. Well, we'll be out here too. I'm curious, David, are there any topics that we missed that you'd want to touch on right now?
Or anybody Freight Caviar can touch today that you mentioned that you guys are a drayage company. Maybe there's somebody that watches this that's a top drayage player that wants to learn from something like that. somebody you're looking for, somebody that can solve a problem or has recently solved a problem you're looking to solve? And if not today, maybe for the next
Yeah,
ones.
maybe next time. I can't think of anybody now, but this has been great. I loved it.
This is great. Yeah.
I could go on for hours.
Yeah, same. I have to drive back to Lublin. It's
Yeah,
an hour drive.
go.
It's almost 9, so I'm gonna get going. But yeah, this was amazing. Honestly, I love talking to you, David. I think you have so much to like. There's just you've experienced so much, but you're also so knowledgeable about the industry, and it's great to be able to do this. This is very valuable. So thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, and thanks for welcome to our office. Right?
Yeah, definitely.